they do not want to buy your to-do list.
Hello, and welcome back to Atlanta Real Estate Pros. I'm Joe Travato, where each episode we sit down with one of Atlanta's leading top professional real estate agents where they share their knowledge, skill, and advice to help homebuyers in today's market. So today we are here with Michelle Miralles. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I wanted to talk to you today about what's going on in the Atlanta market, the real estate market. And you used a phrase, the first time I ever heard this phrase, and it was the rhythm of the market. Now, when I hear rhythm, I think of music. So first thing that comes to me, well, what kind of rhythm? Is it, hard and fast, like I'm all up in the club? Or is it a more, persuasive, romantic, just if you could just kind of tell us what that means, the rhythm of the market.
And so when we use the rhythm, it's more like algorithms. You'll see a chart, the low market and then the high market and then the low market. And it's more of an up and down with the rhythm of a market, right? Yeah. And so we just came out of a very fast-paced market where everything that went on the market was gone within 5 minutes, right? So now the pace is a little bit slower. So when I say the rhythm of the market, it's like, are the houses that are on the market flying off the shelf within a day or minute? No, the rhythm has slowed down a little bit. It's more back to a healthy market, good for the buyers and the sellers. Takes 30 days, 60 days to sell.
What should a buyer, what should they be expecting?
Oh, today the buyer can actually breathe. They could actually slow down, look at the house. If they want to bring mom by, probably so. And then, get a little second opinion. In that fast rhythm of the market, they didn't have time. They saw the house, they had to make a decision right then. Now they could slow down just a minute and breathe.
Oh, that's excellent. That's good news for buyers, maybe not the greatest news for sellers, but sellers are still selling at a good price. So the negotiation, so the slower pace of the market, the healthier market, the rhythm of the market, what does the negotiations look like?
So the negotiations, I tell the buyers, we're still going to look at comps. We're still going to read the market. What is that neighborhood doing? What is that house? How long has it been on the market? We have a little bit more flexibility of asking for closing costs. We can ask for contingent upon the sale of their house before they buy. So, but it doesn't mean major steep discount. Doesn't mean the discount.
Okay, so we're still not seeing lowball offers. So what happens when you have a buyer that sees a house and it might be, say it's 450 and they want to offer 350?
Well, I myself will say, this is not that market. Try to educate them as much as they can. If they're persistent, only the offer will give the results of what we've been telling them. So we present the offer and it's rejected 90% of the time. And that's the only way that buyers kind of truly understand. We have to present it.
Right. So a lot of times, I guess it's you as a real estate professional in it up to your eyeballs every day. You kind of have that skill,
feeling.
that knowledge that you just know where the market is. So what I'm hearing is that it sometimes takes buyers a little bit of up and down or failure or to understand what the market, where they really are. So tell us how that conversation goes.
Well, the conversation always starts with the lender, right? Okay. So what is, I'll come to you and say, hey, Joe, you've been working with this guy and you know the finances. Tell me real numbers. What do they really need?
Right.
And where can we go? And I take that piece along with the conversation of the buyer. They've got to have a trust relationship with me. I've got to know them. They got to know me. And I get a feel for, are they just the investor trying to lowball, or they really want to get in the house? If you really want to get in the house, work with me. Come on, let's work together. And this is where the market is. We can't go in with these lowball offers.
Right. So have a focused price point first. Have a focused budget, an approved loan.
Yes.
so that now you can do your jobs. Because if they're not focused and they don't have their ducks in a row with being 100% approved, it basically prevents you from doing your job, which is hurting them, not you.
That's right. It does hurt them.
Right.
Because at one point in time, agents aren't out there just to show houses. We're out there to write contracts, right? And
Right.
get you into a home. It's
Right.
not just a show and just get out there and just view.
Okay. All right. So one of the things we talked about too, when it comes to home buyers, is that during the frenzy of the COVID days, we saw a lot of folks going over list price and, outrageous conditions. The buyers got zero concessions, but then the sellers got everything. And in a lot of cases, buyers bought houses, they settled on the type of house or the location of the house just to get in that house. So now a lot of those folks, they have, a little bit of remorse because there maybe wasn't the best house 5 years later. So talk to us a little bit about, in this market, how important it is for a buyer to, who's purchasing a house, to really be, how are they going to turn that into a home?
Well, the buyers are getting a little bit pickier now. And the houses that were on the market before weren't in great condition. So first of all, the buyers are looking for a house that they have minimal amount of work to put into. The interest rates are higher, so they don't have as much room. Interest rates were low before. So the bottom line number, it's the effort and it's the working. The mentality always has been with our buyers is buy a house on a Friday, go to work on a Monday. Can they do that when they're purchasing this house? Where is that house located? What is their distance? What is the traffic? And how much traffic do they have to go through? The dynamics that COVID brought on is families want to be together, right? So is it a close proximity to my support system? Is mom and dad around the corner? Can they be babysitting, right? Getting off the school bus. We're finding a lot of multi-generational families living together, so the house is, the basement is grandma, grandpa in it, or the master on the main, or the kids. So it's the lifestyle that is conducive for the family. It's just not the four walls, a house and a commodity that they're buying. They're purchasing a home to nurture love and generational families living there.
So it's really the functionality of your home is the key cornerstone or the key of your whole family life.
It is. It is. And the younger buyers are, it's not about the bigness. It's more of creating that environment of love.
Let's get to the next topic of the sellers. Let's talk about sellers. So what we're seeing in this healthier market that has a good rhythm, where there's creating a lot of win-wins for buyers and sellers, we're seeing a good bit of the houses sit between 1 and 4 months or whatever it is today. But we're also seeing some houses still flying off the shelves, closing in a couple of weeks. And we're still seeing some houses sit for a while. So if I'm going to list my house, I'm going to call Michelle Miralles, my good friend, and I'm going to be, hey, Michelle, I want to sell this thing. So bring me through that, bring our audience through some of the things that we're going to talk about in that first consultation.
So each seller is different, right? Each seller has a different personality. They have a different lifestyle. The house and the condition is different. Their decor in the home is different. And I can walk into a house and say, oh my God, this house is ready to go on the market. I mean, I don't have to do anything. But in other situations, the house needs a little bit of love and a little bit of attention. And how do we strategically do that is, we have a conversation about a buyer coming in, and they do not want to buy your to-do list. So let's get your to-do list, your honey-do list that you never did. Let's get that done and get ready for the market. And a lot of times sellers feel like they're putting more money into the house before they sell, and then they want that money out. But over time, historically, of them living in that house, they should have kept up with those repairs, and it feels hard on them when they neglected. Now they got to invest, And now they want a higher price, and it doesn't work that way, right? So
Right.
if you're living in the house, keeping it in condition right along, it doesn't feel bad.
Right. So I guess the emotion is, if I'm the seller, well, I renovated my kitchen 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it might be beautiful, but it's still now a 10-year-old kitchen.
That's right. Every 10 years is a different
Right.
style and different updates. And so it's every 10 years you got to refresh again, right? It's
Yeah.
like putting makeup on. I put my makeup on 10 years ago. Is it still good? I think I need to wash my face and reapply makeup
Right.
again, right? No different in the house, right?
Yeah.
So we still have to do that. And if it isn't to the condition, I also have what my stagers, we call stagers.
Right. Talk about
Stagers
that.
are either removing the old furniture, buying new furniture, repositioning furniture. The books need to go, the picture needs to go. But the stager does that
Right.
in a nice diplomatic way. And then when the staging's all done, then I have a professional photographer who comes out and takes the pictures and provides us with the perfect pictures for our multiple listings and social media. And the rest is up to me communicating with my consumers and the office and advertising and having conversations. Did I answer your question about
Yeah,
getting ready
you're
to
crushing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's so great. It leads me to my next question. Atlanta, the greater Atlanta metropolitan area is so vast. A lot of folks don't really understand, because you kind of live in your bubble, or you live
Yeah.
in your 3-mile radius, wherever you are. But one of the things I love about you is that you have a vast knowledge of all the different areas that make up Metro Atlanta. And one of the things that you and I were talking about is design and functionality, right? And what we've seen over the last, I would say, 30 to 35 years in Atlanta is different waves of types of construction.
Oh, yes.
So can you just kind of talk to us about design and type
Yeah.
of structure? And
So you start with downtown Atlanta.
Right.
You start downtown Atlanta, the bungalows, the smaller houses, and the year built. Year built back then were like 1950s. And, 1950s style was the builder came out with the 4 boxes and they go, oh, bathroom here, 1 bathroom, 3 bedrooms, and they're small. It's you were living in it. And then the builders come along and they're moving closer to like the Dunwoody area. Dunwoody was like, 1980s,
Right.
in 1980s, they still didn't get there. They still didn't have the garden tubs. They still didn't have the lavish bathrooms. You get into the bathroom, in, out, do what you're supposed to do, and then go on. The kitchens were smaller. And I never thought about this, but the kitchens were designed for more of cooking and savoring the aroma in the kitchen. And then they served in the separate room, dining room. And then
Right.
they went to the family room,
Right.
And so dining rooms now these days are not as usable as they used to be,
Right.
right? But Dunwoody, 4 walls, right?
Right.
Is that what they called it? 4 doors, 4 windows and a door.
4 windows and a door. Yeah, a box.
So, you
Yeah.
know what it is, right?
Right.
You walk in, that first room is the dining room, and then the family room, and then, you
Right,
walk
the
back.
kitchen's in the back, and then
It's
right.
a typical floor plan.
Right.
Then you get to the open floor plan. You got more into then coming north, like Alpharetta, Johns Creek, and, Cumming, open floor plans. The open floor plans like 2000s. You had the big, massive garden tubs and then the vaulted ceilings and open floor plans. And they took away walls,
Right.
right? There's no walls anymore in houses, right?
Right.
And then COVID hits,
Oh,
right?
gee.
And then COVID hits and says, well, these open floor plans just don't work anymore. We're going back to that compartmentalized room. I don't know if that's a word or not, but, you're back to the rooms and the walls. Because then you needed classrooms. Number 1, office for mom, office for dad. And so they started getting back again. So that was part of the frenzy of the market was, God, they can live anywhere in the world.
And especially in the Atlanta area, because we've seen these waves of as the design goes on. And you said something to me the other day when we were talking. You said a beautiful nugget. If you want to know what type of design it is, check
The year built?
the year built.
Year built will tell you square foot. It'll tell you one bathroom. It'll tell you small closets. It'll tell you small master bath. Excuse me, bedrooms. Yeah, the the older the house, the smaller the square
Right.
foot, the smaller the rooms.
Some of the things, one of the things I love about you, so many things I love about you, Michelle, but what I'm really starting to enjoy is your social media platform.
Oh wow!
And this is the part of the podcast where we talk about cooking.
All right.
And I just love watching what you cook because we're both Italians.
Yeah.
And we both love to eat
Yeah,
and cook.
yeah.
And we both love to cook for our family. So talk to me about how important the kitchen is these days for especially the younger buyers. Are they looking for that experience to cook, or is it just something that's not as important as it used to be?
I get a mix. There's a mix. There's a mix that the men are doing more cooking than the women, and the women aren't liking cooking as much as the men. So when I get a man that's looking, he wants grand kitchen, right? He wants that master
8 burner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He wants it all,
Yeah.
right? The
Exhaust that really works to the outside. The whole
Yeah.
the whole neighborhood knows you're frying chicken cutlets.
That's right. Or it's got to be an outside barbecue.
Right.
But if a young couple is busy and they've never been introduced to cooking, they're out living and experiencing the restaurants around. So different age groups makes a difference, right?
Right.
You get the older. I should say there's no age limit now these days, but say those that are retired.
You might but just be tired of cooking.
Yeah. And their kitchen is decorative and it's never messy, and they're just out to restaurants a lot.
So if someone, I know that you do a good bit of folks that are relocating to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So just share with our audience like 2 or 3 like top reasons or top benefits to move, say from, Ohio, where you're from,
Oh, yeah.
to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like, how does that compare?
There's a big difference. I still say it's a cultural difference, right?
Right.
Even though you're still in the States, but it's the Midwest to the South is a big difference. The housing that they're coming from up north, it's a little bit more expensive. Like if you're coming from New York, you're coming from New Jersey, those houses are small and very expensive. When they come down here, they say, oh my God, what I can get in Georgia is just amazing.
Yeah.
And it amazes me what I think that they're looking at that isn't as attractive to me is attractive to them because they have more space.
Right.
Not realizing that they only had like one room for, the price. And now they're looking at, to me, a smaller house in a certain area. So I have to watch when I'm listening to where they're coming from and what they can get.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming on today. I always enjoy the time we get to spend together. If somebody needs to reach out to you for your expertise, how would they find you?
Well, my cell phone, it always works,
Okay.
and that's, 678-358-1031. Or it's my email, which is my name, Michelle@michellemiralles.com. Those are the 2 best ways to get a hold of me.
And I would tell our folks in our audience, you can find her on Instagram and social media. Great posts, great content, never any fluff. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I'm Joe Travato. We'll see you next time.